What we're going to do in this section is explore the QuickBooks home screen and see the different ways in which we can access the main functions in QuickBooks. Since there are several things to go over, I've broken this instruction into two parts. This is part 1, and part 2 will be covered in the section after this one. So once you open your company file and enter in your login information, if you created one, you will see the home screen as you see here. You can think of your home screen as Command Central, or the main place where you can access the main features in QuickBooks. The way how QuickBooks has laid out the home screen is by grouping the different functions using a flowchart. To illustrate the accounting functions you would do first, second, and third. Now, there are obviously a lot of functions here, and each of these will be shown in more detail in a separate module in this course. For this module, however, I just want to demonstrate where you can find these functions. So, at the top, we have all of our vendor functions contained up here. First, if we are purchasing an inventory item for sale, we would create a purchase order by clicking this button. Then, once we receive the inventory, we can use this function to adjust our inventory level for the goods we received, and we can decide whether we want to enter the bill depending on if the bill was given to us at the time we received the goods. In case the bill comes after the goods were received, we would select Receive Inventory Without Bill when we receive the goods, and then later hit Enter Bills Against Inventory once the bill is ready by clicking here. I'm going to click Cancel. You can also enter bills whether they relate to inventory or not. For example, if you just want to enter a hydro bill, using the function here that says Enter Bills. This function will create a payable for our vendor based on the amount we enter for the bill. Then once we're ready to pay off the bill, just going to close this, we would select Pay Bills, which would give us a list of all the bills outstanding to be paid. Now, once we have finished purchasing our inventory, it should follow that we would sell it later, of course. When a customer has expressed interest in buying goods from us, we will generate an estimate by clicking here. When they're ready to actually order the goods, we would create a sales order or proceed to create the actual invoice over here. Creating the invoice will record the sale in our books and generate a receivable balance for our customer. If we are tracking time or expenses for a customer, we can also generate an invoice for our time spent based on our billable rates or the amount of expenses we are seeking reimbursement for. So you would click this over here. If you're in the situation where you've created multiple invoices for a customer and you want to send them a statement of all the invoices they owe, you can create a statement for them by clicking over here. And once your customers have paid you, you would record the receipt of funds by clicking over here. After that, when you go to deposit the money in the bank, we would click Record Deposits over here. You'll notice that there's also a feature called Create Sales Receipts. This is to be used if you bill your customers and receive the payment at the same time. For example, if they pay you cash, check, debit, or credit card on the spot. In this situation, you would only select this function. You would not need to create the invoice, receive the payment, and record the deposit. Now, besides paying bills, if you have employees, you will also need to pay them too, hopefully. To do that, you need to use the Payroll Center at the bottom. And once you're in here, you'll see 3 tabs. Pay Employees, Pay Liabilities. So this here would be your payroll source deductions owing to the government, and File Forms, such as T4s and Records of Employment. If I escape out of here by clicking Escape, and look back at the home screen, Each of these three tabs are also accessible using the buttons Pay Employees, Pay Liabilities, and Process Payroll Forms. For banking functions, other than recording deposits, you may be in the situation where you need to write a check for which you do not have a corresponding bill for. In this case, you would use the Write Checks feature down here. You sometimes may also need to generate a list of all the checks you created, which you can access by hitting the check register over here. If you've created a bunch of checks and you want to print them out in a batch, you can do this using the feature Print Checks down here. And lastly, after recording all of your bank transactions, you should be reconciling your bank account on a regular basis. You can access that function by clicking here. There are a few other features you can access directly from the home page that I didn't already discuss. One up here is called Manage Sales Tax. So this allows you to set up your sales tax codes, whether it be HST, GST, QST, etc., along with preparing sales tax reports necessary for sales tax filing, plus recording sales tax payments. On the right, you'll see Chart of Accounts, which is where you can see a list of all your accounts, along with the ability to add, edit, and delete accounts. The next module will go over this in more detail. If you've created many inventory items, whether they be individual products or different service items, you can access and modify this data, along with viewing inventory quantities, by clicking Items and Services over here. So if I click this and expand, you'll see it also shows you all of the sales tax items you created. Let me click Escape. To get more detail on your individual inventory items, you will need to go into your Inventory Center, which you can access under the Inventory Activities up here, and click over here. Lastly, QuickBooks also provides a built-in calendar to see when things are due, which you can access down here. For example, you may want to see when customers owe you money or when you owe your suppliers money based on the invoice terms. So now we've discussed the main items that exist on the home screen. You'll see there is a tab on top beside the home screen that says Insights. Assuming you've entered all your data for your company correctly, this is a useful feature to get a snapshot of the company's profit and loss by predefined date ranges, which you can select over here, as it will generate both bar graphs and line graphs. It also shows you comparison of income to previous years, also top sales by customer, business growth, and net profit margin. Furthermore, it shows you a bar graph below of customers that have unpaid or open invoices, ones that are overdue, and ones that have paid. Once we have information in this file, the details on each of these can be expanded by clicking on each respective bar. You can also see a pie chart of your expenses by category, also based on predefined date ranges. All of these reports can be printed or saved to PDF as shown above. So let's get out of here. If you're wondering how you can get back to your home screen fast, you can use the shortcuts that QuickBooks has built on the left icon bar over here. So under My Shortcuts, I'm going to click Home. You can also just click up here, Home Page. And here we are, back to base. Besides the home screen, there are other useful shortcuts that you can access from the left, such as Customers, Vendors, Employees, Bank Feeds, Reports, and Payroll. You also have the ability below to view balances. By default, it will show you your most recent payables and receivables, but you can customize this to view essentially any other account existing in your chart of accounts by clicking Customize View Balances. So for example, if I click Cost of Goods Sold, I can add a cost of goods sold account to my quick view list on the left icon bar by clicking, for example, Freight, clicking Add, and clicking OK. And here it appears. I'm just going to go back into Customize and remove it for now, and click OK. Now, if you've created favorite reports, which I will discuss in a later module, you would be able to generate them quickly from here. You can also see what windows you have open in QuickBooks. So anytime I open a function in QuickBooks, it opens up a new window. So just to demonstrate, I'm going to click Open Windows. Shows me Home is open. But if I go to Enter Bills, you'll see in my Open Windows menu on the left that a new window titled Enter Bills has appeared. You can navigate between the windows by clicking on each name listed, as such. And when I close the Enter Bills window by clicking the X at the bottom, it disappears on the left menu. I will stop this section here. In the next section, I will walk you through what is contained in the top menu bar. In this section, I will continue where we left off in the previous section, where I was demonstrating how to get around in QuickBooks. Specifically, we'll be looking at what's in the menu bar. We're back at our home screen. The menu bar is shown in gray on top, along here. It's important to understand where things are on this menu bar because it contains a lot of important functions, some of which are not on the home screen. In the File menu, this contains functions of things you would want to do with the actual QuickBooks files that are not accounting related, such as creating a new company file, opening a file, creating a backup of your file, creating a copy of your file, along with the Utilities submenu. In here, you can use this to either import data into your company file, such as customers, vendors, and inventory items using an Excel file, shown here, or you can import lists and transactions like journal entries using IIF files over here. You can also export data from QuickBooks into an IIF file, which is useful if you want to move lists from one QuickBooks file into another. So if I click here, you can see the lists that you can import out of your QuickBooks file. Let me click Cancel and go back. Below Utilities, you can also click here to print various forms such as invoices, bills, checks, etc. And for these forms, you can adjust your printer settings by clicking over here. One other interesting feature you can access in the File menu is to toggle to another edition. So, as I explained in Module 1, there are different versions of QuickBooks Desktop, and the one that I am demonstrating with is the Premier Accountant Edition, which is the highest version available. If you happen to be using the Accountant Edition like me, and you want to simulate running your company file in a lower version of QuickBooks like Pro or Premier, you can click here to run your file in any version you want. This is primarily useful if you or your client wants to evaluate whether it's worthwhile to purchase a version of QuickBooks that will satisfy the needs of your company. Let me click Cancel. Now let's look at the Edit menu. The Edit menu gives you the ability to edit different functions you are using. Now that we're on the home screen, and if we go under Edit, we will not see many functions available. But let's say if I click Enter Bills, and now go back to Edit, there are many options available to me. I can clear the bill, duplicate it, copy the data, void it entirely, or find other bills existing in the company file. So if I close this, And if I want to enter an invoice, and I go look under Edit, you can see there are similar options available. Let me close this. There are two other important functions in the Edit menu I want to mention. Find. This allows you to literally look up the details of any transaction to see if it exists in your company file, whether it be an amount, a reference number, a transaction date, a sales tax code, or even info contained in the memo field. The Find feature has a simple mode or the advanced mode, which allows you to get into further detail to find what you're looking for. The other important function is Preferences down here, which gives you access to all of the settings of your QuickBooks file. I will go over the details of Preferences settings in the next module. The next menu beside of Edit is View. The main function that the View menu provides is the ability to configure how your open windows show on your screen. It gives you a quick link to the Open Windows list in the left icon bar, which I discussed earlier. So that's what we see here right now. You can also move this left icon bar on top by clicking over here. Or you can hide it entirely by clicking here. To allow for more viewing space, I recommend keeping the icon bar at the top of the screen. So I'm just going to put it on top. You can also customize the icons that appear in this bar by clicking over here. So if you want to rearrange any of the icons we currently have, we can move them up and down as such. Like this. More importantly, there are many other functions that you can add to your icon bar by clicking here, along with customizing the icon name that appears. Let's now get out of here as I next want to show you the List menu. So the List menu basically allows you to access a variety of lists applicable to your company file. The most important one is the Chart of Accounts, which shows you the list of all the accounts you created in QuickBooks, sorted by account type. Another important one is the Item List, which shows you not only all of your sales tax items and groups, but also any specific services or inventory items you've created in your company file. One other list I want to bring to your attention is the Memorized Transaction List. By clicking on it, it would show you a list of any transaction you had QuickBooks remember, which would allow you to re-enter the same transaction with the same data just by clicking whatever is on the list. This is especially useful when entering transactions that repeat often. I will show this in a later module. Next we have the Favorites menu. This is a useful menu if you want to create your own quick shortcuts to menu items existing in other places inside QuickBooks. So if I click Customize Favorites, you can see here that there are hundreds of items that you can add to your favorites list. What you may want to consider doing after using QuickBooks for a while is figure out what functions you use the most often and put these functions in your favorites menu, so it should save time compared to clicking in various places to access these functions. I'm going to click Cancel. Next is the Accountant menu. This menu will only appear if you're using the QuickBooks Premier Accountant edition like I am. What QuickBooks has done with this menu is that they placed functions they feel that accountants would often access other than everyday bookkeeping tasks. For example, you can batch enter transactions from here, meaning you can enter multiple deposits, checks, invoices, bills, or credit card charges all at the same time. So each transaction would be separated out in QuickBooks, but you can still enter multiple transactions on one screen in order to save time. When batch entering, you can also batch delete or void transactions if you need to. The Client Data Review tab below has additional time-saving tools useful for accountants who are cleaning up the bookkeeping. It has a module for reclassifying transactions over here, fixing unapplied customer payments and credits, clearing up the undeposited funds account. So this actually allows you to apply receipts to balances in there that should have been cleared. You can write off multiple invoices at once. So for example, if you discover that all invoices over 180 days should be written off, you can essentially write these off using credit memos with this module. Similar to customers, you can also fix unapplied vendor payments and credits, along with other miscellaneous fixing functions below. If you are in the situation where you need to create a journal entry, so literally typing out your debit and credit, you can access that feature over here called Make General Journal Entries. Also, if you want to access the reconciliation screen if you need to reconcile your bank or credit card accounts, you can access it down here. Lastly, if you want to set a closing date and password on your books to prevent other people from making changes to your transactions dated before a certain date, you can set that up down over here. Next, we have the company menu. There's a couple useful features in here that I haven't introduced already. The first one is the company snapshot. So if I click on this, it gives us a whole bunch of insights on how our company is doing using bar graphs. We can't see anything right now because again, we don't have any data in this file right now. Below this, we have the company information module. So this allows us to modify company name, address, and contact info that was set up in the Easy Step interview before. Let me just click cancel. Below this, we can set up users and passwords, which is something I would recommend doing at some point once you are working on your real-life QuickBooks file. If you want to set up budgets and forecasts, luckily QuickBooks has something for that. And you can set these up by clicking here and walking through your criteria for establishing these. Another feature that QuickBooks has that some may take use out of is the ability to set to-do task items, which can show up on both your QuickBooks calendar as an alert when you have items that become due. You can also enter vehicle mileage here. So basically, this feature allows you to record the kilometers you travel on a certain car, and you can make these kilometers a billable item for your customer if you have a reimbursable expense arrangement with them. Below this, you can access your different letter templates shown over here. And you also have the ability to export your company file to QuickBooks Online by clicking over here, if that's something you want to do someday. The next menu is the sales tax menu. As it goes by its name, this is the place where you can access anything sales tax related for your company, such as your tax agency reports, recording the filing of a sales tax return, and viewing the list of your sales tax codes. I will discuss the details of managing sales tax in QuickBooks in a separate module. After this menu, we have the Customers menu. This menu contains pretty much all the functions that exist in the Customers section that I already went through on the home screen. It also provides you with a link to your income tracker, which is down here. This gives us a clean breakdown of our sales invoices that we have outstanding. We can also access our time tracking functions. So regardless if we like using the weekly timesheet or entering time as a single activity, we can use these functions to track the time we spend on each of our customers that we have in QuickBooks and then use that data to invoice them later for our time spent. Next, we have the Vendors menu. And similar to the Customers menu, it contains all of the functions in the Vendors section on the home screen. It also provides you with a link to your bill tracker, which basically gives us a nice clean breakdown of our outstanding bills. We have our Employee menu, which is something I will discuss in a later module. And then after that is our Banking menu. This again contains all of the functions in the banking section of the home screen. It also contains the Transfer Funds function, which allows us to record a transfer of funds from any asset liability, or equity account that we have set up in QuickBooks. For example, you may use this function to record the payment of a credit card balance from the bank account. So you specify here what account is from and where the funds are going to. Let me close this. Next, we have our Reports menu. This menu is a very important menu as it gives us access to all of the reports that we can run inside QuickBooks. As you can see by the length of this list, there are a lot of reports that you can run. For this reason, I will be going over the report functions in a separate module. In our Window module, this gives us a list of all the windows we have open. As I have already clicked a few functions in QuickBooks, it shows them as open windows down here. If we want to quickly close all of our windows, which is something I recommend doing before you exit your company file, you can do this just by clicking the Close All function, like this. And now everything is closed. Our last menu is the Help menu. This gives us access to QuickBooks Desktop Help, which basically contains a database of helpful guidance in a manual format for using QuickBooks functions. For example, if I go into it, hit the search icon, and type vendors, and click enter, you can see that it's populated 15 different topics. So if I want to read about how to add a vendor, I can click here, and I can read below how to add a vendor by clicking here. I would argue that this video instruction is probably a better way to learn QuickBooks, and of course, I have some bias here, but you may also prefer to read up on certain things using QuickBooks Desktop Help as a reference point. Let me close this. Below this, you can access new features, which basically walks you through the features that got added to the version you're using over the previous year's version. Below this, you have access to QuickBooks support links, along with accessing your license information down here, which is something you would need to access if you ever need to contact QuickBooks sales or support. So there you have it. We've now seen where you can find all of the accessible functions in QuickBooks.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To see more QuickBooks Canada videos from Simon Says It, click over there. And click over there to upgrade to the full QuickBooks Canada course.